Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Sorry for being late. We were experiencing some technical issues today, but thanks for being patient with us and thanks for joining. My name is Philip. I'm co-hosting today, representing Eschbach, the vendor of the intelligent operations platform Shift Connector. And with me is Florian. Just a quick housekeeping note before we start. The session is being recorded and we will share it afterwards. So please stay tuned with us. Please feel free to submit questions via the chat. And we will cover those questions during the Q&A. And now I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker, Florian Leinenkugel from Bayer. And he will be exploring today how to break down team, tool, and system silos in pharma manufacturing to improve efficiency and resilience. Florian, thank you for having you. Over to you.
Thank you, Philip, and a warm welcome as well from my side. And sorry, guys, for the technical issues that was on my side, probably. I work for Bayer Pharmaceuticals in product supply, and I spent quite some time there trying to break down silos. At one side, I was really heading it, but I've seen kind of the same process in many other sites. So what we discussed today is probably, a mix of experience from many different sites where we try to break down silos. And without any further ado, I would say let's jump directly in. With a typical situation, completely ordinary, we all know it too well, a pump on a production line fails. The operator probably informs the shift lead, and then a process kind of unfolds. Maintenance need to know, planning needs to know, quality might be affected, the compliance guy want to assess the situation, and emails start spreading, messages start spreading, phone calls, maybe a talk at the coffee machine, a verbal update at the shift change, and of course, all the entries in our different systems like MES, maybe a PM notification in SAP, a deviation note in the quality system, update in some Excel spreadsheets to replan production. And after a while, it feels like half of society is working on the issues. And indeed, a couple of hours later, the pump is repaired and the line is back up running. And when you look back now, the line was, let's say, down for about 8 hours. But if you ask Mike, the mechanic from the maintenance team, how long he actually needed to repair the line or to replace the pump, he may respond with something like, I don't know, about 2 hours. So the question is, where did the 6 hours go? I mean, apparently fixing the technical issue or addressing the deviation in other cases seems to be relatively quick. But understanding the situation and coordinating the response around all the functions has taken much longer. I mean, 6 hours, I don't know. I would say probably 1 hour would be more reasonable for all the coordination work. And assuming I'm right with that one, then we would have wasted 5 hours. And that hidden loss has a name: decision performance. Decision performance is basically the measure of how fast or how quickly an organization can turn a signal into the right commitment and then execute it with excellence. And this decision performance has 3 dimensions. decision speed or decision latency, meaning how quickly teams can align on what is happening. Decision quality, does a decision really solve the operational issue at hand? And decision execution, meaning how effectively actions are coordinated across teams. And given the pump example, we see that decision performance can directly affect plant performance and quickly become costly. I mean, 6 hours versus 1 hour, that's probably 1,000 or many thousands of euros lost. And this will become increasingly important since many organizations, not only Bayer, but basically all organizations are trying to become a bit more faster, a bit more nimble, and are reducing hierarchical layers and mainly traditional coordination roles, middle management. For example, we at Bayer reduced 2 layers between the site head and the operator in product supply. So 2 roles less coordinating what's happening. And that means, obviously, decisions are increasingly expected to be taken closer to where the work happens. I'm not a big friend of buzzwords, but just to toss one in the buzzword jar, it's decisions at the edge. And that means frontline teams need better situational awareness and coordination capabilities. And in the future, with ongoing automation, this challenge will only increase, because in the future, probably maybe not so much in brownfield, but in greenfield projects or greenfield lines, fewer people will survive much more complex system. So fewer people, more systems. And that make then effective decision making even more critical. Last buzzword for today, promise, that would be the industry 5.0 discussion taking place right now. So, but back to our pump. Why was the decision performance in our example not so good? And I guess if we look at the slide, we already feel it. We feel and see the friction just by looking at it. In our SOP and maybe in the BPMN world, where we process clean processes, it looks always super smooth, linear, fast, but reality of coordination is messy. And if we look how many different functions communicate through many different channels about data from many different systems, and I mean good systems, our MES systems, or our ERP systems, the process control systems, you name it. Each of them was good with valuable information, but each system only shows a fragment of our operational reality. And the teams, the functions, sense and operate often mainly through their systems, to what their systems shows them. So each of our function, each team sees an incident from a different angle with a different lens. And that means in the end, what do you get? Unconnected interpretations of the same event. Silos. And then when something unexpected happened, like our pump incident, I always look out because our lines are left from me. That's why I'm always looking in that direction when I'm talking about incidents like that. Sorry. When something unexpected happens, the teams have to climb out of the silos and combine these fragments in order to make sense of it and in order to understand of what the hell is going on. And add on that the silos built by all the different communication channels. Because I don't know, Susie and Peter from quality discuss the incident with Ralph from production in the Teams channel. whereas compliance and quality trying to solve the issues, I don't know, maybe in a conference room or in a hallway conversation, and manufacturing and the technical coordinator are writing emails trying to solve the topic. And if you add on that our reality of 24/7 manufacturing with asynchronous communications, where you often have to make decisions based on notes because you were not there when the event happened, and you are as well not able to talk to the people who experienced the event firsthand, then you got not only fragmented data, but fragmented coordination, fragmented execution as well. Kind of a perfect storm, no? More silos. And these silos cost you decision performance in all three dimensions: speed, quality, and execution. So, what do we need to do? We need to break the silos. And if silos are not just only org chart artifacts, boxes with names, but in fact, context issues, communication issues, we need to solve the problem not, or at least maybe not only, by moving boxes in our org charts around, but by solving the context and the communication problem. We need to create a shared operational picture and a forum to act on it. Allow me an aviation metaphor to make it a bit clearer. Let's imagine an airspace around a large airport, many planes with every plane a pilot, every plane has its own instruments which are needed to steer the aircraft, to show the status. Silos basically. But safe air traffic, I mean, you need more than just flying silos to make it work. You need more than planes with instruments. You need a control tower. And the control tower, it does not fly the airplanes, but it sees the bigger picture around and helps coordinate the traffic between the airplanes. And we need that in manufacturing as well. We need a control tower, a shared operational picture which is continuously updated, accessible to all teams, has all the relevant information, and in the best case in real time. And then that could be the place where teams can see the what, the data, what happened, what was the incident, the so what, the meaning of that, the significance, the impact, the making sense of it, and then the now what part, which means what are the next steps, who are the owners, who is doing what, so the coordination and execution part. So we need a place where teams can come together to make sense of things and as well make and execute decisions, a decision layer. The question is, how do we create that in daily operations? Easy on first sight, did it all the time. We connect our systems, our process control systems, our MES, our ERP systems, and visualize them in a nice dashboard. But many of the real critical, the important signals and information in our daily operations, they never appear in those systems, like the human observations, the shift handovers, and the information spread over there, the tasks that are open and are needed to be coordinated across teams. The neighboring data, the metadata, the context, like maybe during the pump incident, there was a repair on the piping in the floor above. Maybe there was a team replacing a valve on I don't know, the purified water system, and that would be an important hint. So we needed more than just dashboards. We need a way to connect system signals with the human observations, all the human and operator input, with tasks, with open actions, with owners to increase a bit the accountability, and of course with the events, with our operational excellence routines, the handovers, our tier meetings, the Gemba walks, process confirmation, and so on. And we need to have that in one shared operational context, in a live workspace, one place, a bit, I don't know if we have OE guys in the audience, a bit like a digital Obeya room, but an Obeya room on steroids. An Obeya room with real-time data, with coordination and execution mechanics, an Obeya where you not only see things but can act on them. And that led us to try to create something like that. And I would call it maybe a decision layer for our daily operations. And this decision layer should sit on top of our existing systems, and it should glue together all the operational information, the operational context, and help everyone involved in the operations to see the same understanding and to have the same perception of reality, and to coordinate their actions. Much like the control tower we mentioned earlier. So, what did we do? We looked at ways to build the infrastructure. I mean, obviously, this needs infrastructure for this decision layer. And I hope till now everyone agrees that this has to be a digital solution. So, as I said, we researched the possibilities. We did some market research, looked at certain variants, and finally decided to team up with Eschbach and their Shift Connector platform, or during the start at least with modules of the Shift Connector platform, trying to start building this layer. And we did not start this like as a big architecture program or big software or IT rollout implementation project. We actually started very small. We started with one function, with production. And we started with something very simple, daily routine, but at least in our case as well, like a bit of a daily pain. Because back then, information of what happened during a shift had to be collected and assembled from the shift leads manually from multiple sources like our SAP system, MES, the quality systems, Excel, paper, more Excel, and a large part as well from the memory of the shift leads. And Danny, one of our shift supervisors, he told me once that this data collection could easily take around 1 hour per shift. And the quality then, of course, of the shift handover depended very much on the individuals who do or who did the shift handover, and maybe as well on their form of the day. And besides the handovers itself, were held a bit freestyle, a bit jazzy, let's say, and often not in a very structured and fixed way. Well, yeah, and then what happened? The usual, what was said, what not always that was what was understood, open issues slipped between shifts, tasks were not always clearly owned, and the next shift often started with archaeology in the process control system or in Excel files, trying to understand the story of the last shift, of what happened during the last shift, instead of directly starting acting on it. So that was why we choose the shift handover case first. We created a handover view in Shift Connector or in the platform, where all the operational context of the last shift with, I don't know, line status, events, incidents, open tasks, etc. was collected. We defined a very clear structure within that view that should help facilitate or guide through the process to make it just more structured and tighter. We integrated a handover checklist, which facilitates a little performance dialogue, a small one, so where safety and quality issues could be discussed, where losses could be discussed, and as well to keep accountability high. We let them formally sign in the system the handover. And what happened was that the handovers became much more consistent. Preparation time got reduced. Like I said, what Danny told me, together with prep time for other events like performance dialogues, around 1 hour per shift. Imagine 3 hours a day, that's 15 hours a week. Shift supervisor time from highly paid and costly and important person, time they could easily spend, I don't know, training people or doing their leadership tasks, etc. So much less information slipped as well. And the next shift started with the operational context of the last shift of the last 8 hours, much more consistently. And guess what? It's still one of the most used and probably most useful functions till today is shift handover. And from that case, we started to grow and to add things from our operational excellence menu. I mean, probably all of you will work with some kind of operational excellence system like the Toyota production system. Ours is called PSS, product supply system. And we added the things like Gemba walks, downtime tracking. We added automation, and that led to higher adoption, and production used the system every day more and more. And that meant more and more useful operational information, more and more coordination activities accumulated there. And that created gravity and pulled other functions into the system. Because if you have a place where you can easily coordinate and you find useful data, it's something teams realize and they want to participate. So the first function to join was a quality control lab. They wanted to improve the flow of processing the in-process samples from the production teams or the process with the production teams. And they started to use this layer for coordinating the whole process. Then they involved the planning function that they organize and process the monitoring slots on the lines for them in the system, and so on and so on. So we grew inside out, more or less organically. And then the next big step we did in the layer was to integrate the drumbeat of our operations, like I said, as guided by PSS, our OE system, into the layer. So we brought the 24-hour performance dialogues and the morning meetings into the system. That means what we needed to have or wanted to have is were all the relevant data visualized there. And we want the structure for the dialogue in the system to help facilitating the events. And this is now where our decision and coordination layer came fully to live, because now in the rhythm of 24 hours, we come together here. We make sense of the last 24 hours and we coordinate everything to make the next 24 hours as successful as possible. We discuss our downtimes there. We try to understand our losses there. We look and track at the result of our gamma walks and our process confirmation activities. We try to track status of open tasks or of tasks itself and speed up execution of them. And we learn from the results. And this is all fully aligned with our operational excellence system. And I think it fuels it big time. It's for us, it's really an enabler to make it more successful. And of course, it's not perfect yet. It's a journey. So we still have not everything automated. We don't have all the data automated in the system, which would be probably the gold standard. But our next efforts will focus more and more on automation. And yeah, probably one of the biggest learning, at least I had on the journey. In hindsight, we should have started automation and building interfaces and pulling data. Automatically. We should have done that much earlier in the journey, because that's really a game changer for the frontline people. So just two small use cases and maybe a bit of look and feel of the system. What changed? I mean, it's hard to put numbers on it, and especially at Bayer, many other things change, like our complete operating model with D&O. So for me, it's hard with all the change around to put really sound numbers on it, but definitely ownership and accountability improved, because all tasks have visible owners. We have due dates. We get automatic notification when something becomes overdue. And we got better there big time as well, I would say. Decision performance got better. In the last 2 years, like I said, we removed coordination layers, 2 coordination layers in production between shift lead and operator. And we managed it. We managed this drastic change without affecting production stability. And I'm convinced, I really believe without that layer, that change would have been worse. We would have seen that change in our output, in the numbers. As well, not statistically sound, but I mean, if you work on the sites and you see it from near distance, you see the effects, you believe it. And lastly, and probably that's the most important thing, the feedback from our colleagues working in the plants. And the feedback is there stating that this layer, and I mean, in our case, it's Shift Connector, really helps them to coordinate operations, to coordinate day-to-day activities, to run production, to just stay focused and to not be too much involved in with coordination and administration overhead and collecting data overhead. So and the feedback, to have everything in one place, in one front end, in one door to assess it, that's really helpful. And they want us to integrate more and to bring in more operational aspects. And I hope in the future that we at one point really have this full-blown decision and execution layer, really as the operational backbone for running our productions. And then if we look ahead, this kind of layer opens the door, paves the way for something even more powerful. You probably guessed it. I really avoided it the whole talk, but now it's the time. AI, of course. AI systems and that really can act as sparring partners for frontline teams, helping them in making decisions and understanding situations faster and making suggestions in searching data from the past and highlighting relevant context, exploring possible actions. So all the things we currently attributing AI for the future. But I mean, exactly like us humans, AI system as well. They need context, they need understanding, they need ontology, and I guess with this decision layers, we have a solid foundation for that, for more adaptive and intelligent manufacturing systems with that layers. And talking about ontology, probably the next good step would be to transform this decision layer in a knowledge graph in the back end so that AI can understand it even better. But let's not fall in the AI rabbit hole now. Maybe that's something for you Eschbach guys. So let us talk about what you could start tomorrow. And to be true, I'm not a big fan of recipes or cookbooks when it comes to organizational changes. And I know and understand, this works on LinkedIn very well, but reality is too complex. Circumstances are different. So it's not always black and white. That's why I like more to rely on principles. And I invite you to take this more as guiding principles and not as a cookbook. But things we really learned is, first thing is start small. Try to find an easy, solvable pain, a low-hanging fruit. Solve it good, and then scale from there. And you will then probably scale organically. Starting small, that means starting with the min specs. And for our decision and execution layer, the min specs would be transparency, visibility, and the coordination. Don't forget the coordination mechanics. It's more than just dashboards. Then, secondly, build the system together with the users. Make them the architect, make them the admins. Let them design the system according to their needs. That means the system must have a certain flexibility and be locally customizable in order to make that happen. But otherwise, the user value and the adoption will probably be below. Then third, execution.
Florian,
Yeah.
We should be conscious of the time of the
attendees. Of course. Okay. I'll rush to it. So make execution visible. It's more than just dashboards. Try to make the now what part explicit as well. Then, like I said, automate. Try to build the interfaces to your data system. Try to make it as convenient as possible to get all the data. Don't shy away from the efforts. I think it's worth it. Then connect it to your operational drumbeat. Try to plug it early in the OE system of your choice. Try to marry it directly with your routines and your events you already have in your plant at your operation line. And finally, UX is king. We are all used to such good UXs in our private lives. So a bad UX will kill adoption early on. We want to solve problems. We want to make decisions. We want to discuss production. We want to make production as good as possible and don't try to figure out where in which sub menu we had to click to do so. So UX, try to get a good UX. And with that, I will close with one conclusion. Silos are not an org chart problem. If you want to break silos, you need shared reality, because silos are context and understanding problems. Yeah, sorry for the overdoing, Philip. With all the technical issues we had up front, I didn't manage to start the timer.
All good, all good. Thanks, Florian, for sharing your insights. Let's jump to the Q&A section. Could you just go over to the last slide, please? Okay, so thanks a lot for tuning in. And now we are about to start a Q&A section. Before moving to the Q&A, just a quick reference to a resource that we would like to share with you. That's the shop floor operations efficiency assessment. That helps you really to identify what Florian talked about today: silos, friction on the shop floor, and what improvement potentials you might have. It just takes a few minutes, so you are highly encouraged to use your mobile phone, scan it, and download it. Over to you, Florian. So let's kick the Q&A off, and I would like to kick it off with one initial question. So did you face any resistance when deploying that operations platform Shift Connector as your key decision and execution layer? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, probably that's one thing which is the same on every manufacturing plant in the world. You won't get merry proposals if you walk in and come in with a new tool or a new system or a new IT architecture. So it's already good if you have kind of a wish of improvement, and we were lucky to have that in our frontline teams. Then we started really small. Like I said, we involved them early on. And for the first weeks, we enforced things. Okay, now the handovers, they have to take place there. You have to make the entries there. But after the initial resistance we overcame the initial resistance. Like I said, then gravity set in, operational gravity, which pulled other teams to the system more. And to be true, the maintenance guys, they are so used to SAPs, they sometimes struggle a bit, but for them we built an SAP interface right now.
Yeah, that's also a question that we've got into the chat from Maria. She's asking, why not just connect the existing systems, data sources, and build dashboards?
Yeah, cause like I said, dashboards, maybe I should have called the layer not decision layer, but collaboration layer. But it sounds so consultancy lingo magic that I hesitated to do it. But dashboards, they show just the what. And if you remember, we have as well not just the what, the past. We have as well the so what does it mean, and the execution. And that's often not very well held by dashboards, because operations, it's not a visualization problem, it's a coordination problem. So you really must bring in humans, machines, tasks, routines to make coordination possible, because otherwise you just decide fast. If you don't execute it fast, your decision performance still will be low, and you cannot run your plan faster than you can make and execute decisions.
Yeah.
So dashboards are very valuable, nothing wrong with dashboards, but not the whole picture.
Yeah, got it. I think that's understandable for everyone. Then we have a question from Frank. He says, did you validate the system?
No. I mean, it's a possibility, but we wanted to be fast and nimble. We wanted, like I said, we have the frontline people partly designing the system, and we want to be able to do changes fast. And to keep it small and agile in order to keep adoption high, to keep user value high. So we just think about or have to validate the interfaces if we have interfaces to validated systems.
Okay, thanks for clarification. I don't see any more questions in the chat. So thanks everyone for participating, for posting your questions. If you have any further questions later on, please reach out to the whole Eschbach team, and I'm sure also Florian will be happy to connect with you and answer further questions. So thanks again, Florian, for your presentation and for sharing those insights. Thanks everyone for joining today. It's been a pleasure. Let's keep in touch and let's find out how we can help you guys in streamlining your operations, and if that use cases that Florian presented today are also applicable to you, then we are more than happy to walk you through what we have to offer and on the table, and show you how we can actually produce results. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, anyone.